Hello and welcome. My name is Faye. I am from Your Heart's Path and I'm coming to you today to deliver a collective energy reading that may and or may not resonate with you. So please just take the bits that do. It's more about creating awareness and providing you tools and insight and guidance to support you if these themes are resonating in your life. So we take a very bird's eye view perspective of what we see into the future for the month of February and the particular themes, so as that they become something a little bit more tangible to you, so as that you can ultimately work with them if you so choose. So I had a little date with my spirit team this morning. It's sort of up to them as to when the downloads start to come in for you guys to really support you. And it felt like being the first, it was kind of ready to get going this morning. My previous week has been perfectly chaotic, but also felt at times like things had gone a little bit tits up. I start this reading, and not necessarily even as a theme, but to provide you with a little bit of imagery, as we love clairvoyance and working with imagery to really explain through metaphor. Therefore, you get to approach things and kind of play with them in your own experience. But the image that they keep showing me is like one of those Japanese they're just showing it to me as a plate that has sort of seemed to be shattered, yet comes together this month with the beautiful gold that they utilize to bring the object back to whole. And so I noticed this in a very sort of superficial level in my life last week. The coffee machine broke, the whippersnipper broke, the lawnmower broke, the piping of the house broke. It was like all of these things literally kind of like falling apart and creating almost what felt like more work in the process, whilst I was trying to kind of land and ground new ideas and starting to get the momentum in feeling this new rhythm that's come to life inside of the body to really sort of get that momentum moving forward. And it kind of felt like little setbacks. But what I was noticing in this experience, and you may have in yourself if that frustration or irritation arose through small little inconveniences in your life, is that the way in which these were approached was that sort of separation from the emotional body after taking a couple of breaths, and not necessarily needing to dig super deep to find the meaning behind all of these pieces, but kind of being patient, ready and willing to receive the wholeness or the completedness of this, the gem that forms from the pressure at a point where you know that it's ready to come in. And so it's not about forcing. It was kind of just about applying little bits and pieces and seeing, getting curious about how perhaps there is value to this, and perhaps it was just more of a test. How tested have you been in your current experience, and what is your response like? What this has done for us is showed us insight into this first theme that I really want to share with you, which is around the mind. The mind is going to be a hugely big piece this month. And when I say the mind, it can go from super racing thoughts to instant manifestation to being super aware that you're stuck back in 6 months ago or having memories from 10 years ago. It sort of can be something that destroys or creates. And so there is an extra element of what I want to call responsibility with the mind this month to keep things as harmonious as possible. And harmonious doesn't mean that you don't have a negative thought. Harmonious doesn't mean that your mind has to be in a certain place all the time. But what Spirit want to see this month is that you are prepared to show up and to do the work to create a sense of space inside of your mind, so as that the racing thoughts, the information, the inner dialogue has place to move or go, or it also has place for understanding, for reconciliation, for peace in between. And that means making space for that to occur. Journaling might be your thing, making sound might be your thing, having conversations with friends might be your thing, being heard might be your thing, listening might be your thing. Silence is golden this month, and it may be that in that silence and in that moment you have the epiphanies or the ahas. This is something this month though that can be catched in the moment. So when you find your thoughts trickling into a space that no longer serves where it is that you're heading, you're able to grab this in the moment and just say cancel, or burn, and affirm something new into your reality. The mind is kind of, I almost feel like there's like a trickstery energy in and around this, but it's great insight into those spaces and places of our being that bring up elements of worth, that bring up elements of comfort in self-sabotage, that bring up I want to say like a false narrative of that creates a sense of victimhood in our life. So why is this happening to me? Oh, this is happening to me. It's not happening to, it's happening for. And how can we really land in the heart and like get on board with this picture without the outcome? And when I say without the outcome, I don't know yet why my whippersnipper is broken. When I sit in the garden, and I'm seeing this now, and I see all of the grass all trimmed because we replaced the mower, and I'm seeing the long bits around the outside, I can focus on how much that irritates and frustrates me, or I take my gaze up just a little bit higher and I start to look at all of the berries that are blooming, or the flowers that are shining off color, or the birds that are in the trees above, the abundance that actually is available. And I have a choice in that moment, as do you, as to what we focus our attention on, not by bypassing the piece where the whippersnipper potentially needs to get fixed, or, and this is something here, the things that may have broken or kind of self-destructed or caused an element of frustration or an extra bit of workload to your life. Is that something that needs to be tossed? Is that something that needs to be mended, like the beautiful plate? Or is that something that needs to be replaced, which I guess comes with tossed? Or is it something you just don't need anymore? This comes right down to things inside of the, they're showing me like underwear drawers and t-shirts with stains and things on them, stuff you wouldn't go out of the house in that you're like, oh, this is my sloppy gear. It's like, okay, well, if you want to feel sloppy, great. Or is that something that you actually just need to get rid of? Do you need to replace your track pants? Do you need to get some new knickers because your old ones remind you of your ex-lover? It's kind of getting really clear about the energetics and the relationship we have with our external world, which is a reflection from our internal world, and the choice that you actually have to navigate your consciousness to experience something that's a little bit more peaceful. It can feel semi-detached initially because you might not have your aha moment straight away. We were on that track before, but we're getting back there. The aha moment might not be big and profound, but it means that in training your mind and spending time like the Jedi does to create spaciousness, silence, and stillness there, that when things do speed up, you are more aware of it and you can begin to slow them down, to bring conscious awareness to your thoughts and arrive back in the present moment and start to decipher what's valuable, what's not valuable, what's for me, what's not for me. Having a relationship and a sense of curiosity with the chaos of the internal mind and how that can either A, support you and those around you, or B, destroy and destruct. And that's actually how strong it feels. It doesn't feel like there's much in between. If gone unchecked, this disturbs nighttime sleep as well, so actually drifting off to bed. So if this was, breath work is my favorite thing to do to calm my mind, but sometimes I know that I need to actually just do a different sort of practice, whether that be visualization or journaling or singing or moving. It's all up to you, and that's part of this process of asking and listening to your body, getting curious and trying different things. The mind is the priority because it filters into the body, the physical health and well-being, our habits and behaviors in regards to our physical body, how we take care of ourselves, and then leading into the spirit as the manifestation of our reality. So if we're going to focus on anything, it's going to be mental health. And mental health is a theme that if this is something you've struggled with, depression, anxiety, some of these more things that might be more personal to you, or in family members, those around you, you're going to start to notice that if gone unchecked or unsupported, that these things can start to feel a little bit murky right now. This may mean as well that if in friendships or in relationships or in family members, if there is someone that you're observing that's been stuck in a space of mental I'm just going to say disharmony or unwellness for a long period of time, they actually might be choosing that this is where they're comfortable right now and they don't want support. So we may have to find the compassion in our hearts to allow people to just be in that space. That might not be for all of you, it might be for other, but what that does is pulls us back into our own body. We're there as support if they need or if they ask, but it's not about saving other people right now. It's about being really sharp and discerning in the dialogue that goes on inside of your mind, knowing full well that this affects your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being, and your physical well-being all the while. Body is a great hack this month. I actually am feeling like lots of people starting new journeys with their body. We touched on this in January, but I feel like new diets, new lifestyles, new ways of moving, new memberships, new new things that we have to get energy cycling through the body. So if you can't run and jump and stimulate that cardio experience, which I feel to be fabulous this month, building strength internally in the body, keep this up if you've started, give it a go if you haven't. Then stretching, and if stretching's too much, whether you've got other stuff going on there, then drop it down a notch. What can you do in stillness? Saunas, beautiful mineral baths, foot soaks, skin scrubs, ice baths, things that you can plonk yourself in that are supporting your body but require very little effort, are still going to stimulate a positive energy of release, bring you into the present, and kind of optimize your health and well-being to support through this transitional period. There is so much change coming in this month that we want to be present in our bodies. We also want to be taking care of ourselves. Diet's a great insight. People are going to notice things that they've been addicted to, small little ingredients to the diets that can actually flip everything into a complete state of imbalance. So people having recognition about things that they've been allergic to that they've been consuming, a rejection of toxic substances that have been placed on the body or internally that the body just goes, I'm not doing that anymore. Like the headache can form before the chocolate is consumed. Not saying chocolate is bad, but things like sugar and other sort of substances give us like this false sort of sense of high and then a big crash. We're going to be super aware of those things, stimulants that we've been utilizing to kind of bypass. I'm just going to say bypass because the bypass is different for lots of people, but really where is that not optimizing your own health and well-being? I think podcasts, information platforms, industries in regards to health and well-being and having a really honorable approach to this where it's not about shortcuts, and we'll get to that shortly, are going to do really well this month. I think if you're running a gym or you've got a space like a yoga center, they expect new members because people are going to be needing this. So put the word out there if you're in a position and you are helping contribute to the health and well-being of people from a mental approach, but also a physical one, as this is really, really needed. And there is an awful lot of value in that space, including products and other things as well that we did touch on in January. Go back and listen to that if you feel like you need to. So we go in through the mind, we are supporting the body, and then the spirit comes through. They didn't give me a whole lot of information in regards to the spirit. They've just trickled this off into a couple of different themes, and I think this is really coming up in regards to the home. We're going to approach that theme a little bit later on and draw that bridge, as I really want to move into that second space that we have previously touched on already today. They're kind of going to take me around in one big circle. I just got to trust. Is around no shortcuts. And I find this really interesting as this energy that feels like faster and like it's really amplifying things in the system. It can feel a bit like heat or like revving up a car engine, but not having 100% clarity as to where we are going, just kind of trusting the flow, is that we can't take the shortcut. If we go taking the shortcut right now to get to our destination, so say you start to go inland because you think you're going to bypass the traffic, you'll come across an accident and then you'll be sitting in traffic for 6 hours. Whereas if you'd just gone the normal way, you actually just could have enjoyed listening to some beautiful music and being really present with your experience and trusting that what's around you and what's occurring is actually meant to be. And there's information, insight, and meaning in all of that if you choose to apply that part to your life as well. But we want to get really practical about where we have desired to take shortcuts, not just in career and lifestyle path and relationships and all these other things. It can be really specific in like diets even. You know, if I do this for 2 weeks, I'm going to look like this or I'm going to feel like this. It's like, hold on a second. No, because if we drop down here, then we're going to bulk back up here. So we're kind of finding a little bit of harmony and bringing an element of patience in. Patience is one of those things that I find really interesting, especially when you can see where it is that you're going and you would desire to be there rather than be here right now. But this is not a time for shortcuts. This is about going through, and it is the only option. You go around that and the shortcuts or the back street and you get stuck here, you're going to end up having to come back around to that beginning point anyway, because you find out, you know, at 9 p.m. that there is no going home this way, the road's been closed, and all of a sudden you're back where you begun. So I really do think that that's really important. This is hugely in regards to your spiritual journey as well. There's been I want to say like an absolute kind of humbling, a word we must like at the moment, humbling in the distance of how far you've come. So stop and celebrate if you need to. Celebrate the opportunities that are coming in if you need to. Celebrate your wins if you need to. Dance in there a little while. yeah, we've peeled, say, like 50 layers of one particular onion, and then this is a point in time where we realize that there's like a 51st layer, and you can be totally overwhelmed by that and just stop and pause and just give up periodically if you choose to, or you can approach this with all of the tools that you have learned so far, with the vulnerability and the courage and, I want to say, the love that you've created inside of your body to peel back this last and final layer that brings together the entire plate. It's like all that gold gets weaved back in, and all of a sudden you've got something that can be utilized. You've got an integrated something that is even more beautiful than it was than when you started. And so don't let the challenges overwhelm you right now. Please don't try and cut shortcuts. Get support if you need it always, but it's through and through. And the emotional piece that sort of sits back right now is actually a really valuable thing, because we don't feel as overwhelmed if we choose not to be. It's like, okay, well, cool. This is the direction in which I'm going. And where I'm meant to be is right here, right now anyway. And I think there's going to be a deeper sense of respect for the present moment this month, because we're going to understand that there is a form of sabotage when we are moving too far ahead or we're too far behind, if it's not being done in a conscious sort of a space, or where we've been escaping or trying to rush through what is the rush. And that is the discipline of practicing presence. And so the breath is really important. That physical exercise and movement helps connect you to the breath. So does practicing that kind of awareness through that lens of your mind. Where is my mind actually spending time? Knowing that your spirit follows where your thoughts go. So coming back here into this present moment. This gives us a space to reevaluate right now as well. Reevaluating your timing. If you've put pressure on yourself to be somewhere before a specific date, you might feel overwhelmed by that right now. So just look at it as one activity or one task or one process or one piece of journey, and give yourself as much time as you need. You'll find a softening in your body and an element of compassion, which means that you will swim through that with much more grace anyway. There is a newfound element of devotion that spawns from this experience of compassion as well with your whereabouts, where it is perfect right now. But there is a new sense of devotion that allows for you to experience some of the not so nice experiences or some of the challenges that are a part of your soul's journey with a lot more dignity, but also a lot more acceptance than what previously. It's feeling less like, oh, why poor me, and more like, wow, what is this that I have to offer to the universe and to my friends and to my family and to the grace of the earth from my learnings so far. And I wonder what else is in this. I wonder what other forms of grace can evolve from this experience that I could share as wisdom in the future, or I can implement into my inspirations, or to inspire me to do things or create something different or more sustainable. And so I believe that time for contemplation, stillness and silence is really hugely important. Always, but especially when things feel like the speed and the momentum is building up. So rest is still something that is active when you are present with your experience. This is something that I think we could all utilize a little bit of support with as well at times. So if that's something that you need, please do, or just go really slow. It's okay with this momentum. I want you getting things done and taking that action space, but that can still be slowly. And sometimes slow is fast. And it really does feel like that's something that's going to kind of continue through the rest of the year. I did mention take time to celebrate, and I've put this through here as it's very connected to power. Power is a theme that I feel is going to manifest not only in our households, but on a global level this year. I think it's something that we're going to reestablish what healthy power is, a healthy utilization of power, where we are afraid of our own power, where we cannot yet cultivate our own power. So we're looking externally to fill that up, or where the power is too intense in the body. So we need to learn to ground it and kind of move with it and direct it. Power is definitely a theme. We can actually see like power outages, momentary though, this month. So it feels almost like you know, like the electricals in the house might go out, or the phone breaks for half a day weirdly, or the lights go out internally, but it only lasts like 24 hours. So you might like go down into a really deep, dark place, but then you wake up the following day with this new insight and it's like you've been birthed again. And so power outages is not about going into that space in that moment where you're wondering what it is that you've done wrong, or that kind of self-loathing thing that we're all capable of experiencing. But it's bringing a sense of, I don't want to look at my words because I kind of want to stay on the train. It's showing us an element as well where we have had an unhealthy relationship with our own inner power that has unconsciously been triggering a wound or something to be healed around self-worth. So there is a connection between power and self-worth here that is going to be translated differently for all of you. So could we put this into a question, please? Like, how is giving my power away or being victim to my own beautiful power sort of affirming to me that I'm not worthy of? Interesting form of interesting thread there, and it kind of goes in and out and up and around, and to follow it as a translation is challenging, to say the least. But I am just going to plant that there. How, what, or does pressure of your own power bring a sense of self-loathing, lack of self-worth through non-accomplishment as well? So power is interesting. It'd be an awesome journal reflection to kind of go in there. I'm almost feeling like my cheeks flush because my humanness is getting in the way, and I'm like, I haven't translated that to the doink, the precision that I would like to. But I'm just going to kind of leave there as a bit of a thought thread to bring the awareness into your relationship to your own power. Also the power that other people have over you in your life as well, or where other people that you've used as a source of power, tools as a source of power. We really want to start to stimulate and create this from the inside out, which means coming into the body, being grounded and present and aware, and then actually participating in the direction of that power, what it feels like in your system, being connected to your heart so that it moves into a positive way, sitting in it. What does your ultimate expansive power feel like, and how can you hold this in your body without gripping on really tight, but trusting and allowing for it to move? This also trickles into, thank you, a great theme that I love, obviously, of an expansion in our sensitivity and our gift space. So weird, new and curious things can be happening. The psychic awareness is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger this month. I have noticed a whole lot of new intuitive development clients coming through that almost have an element of urgency about them. Like, shit, I really have to do something about this now. There's a nakedness involved in our spiritual senses, in that if you've been really telepathic for a long time and you've only just had that epiphany or that realization, you then go into an environment and all of a sudden you're super aware of this, but might not yet have the tools to kind of start to turn things down and focus your awareness and attention on the places that it need to be. And maybe some of that is necessary and maybe some of it is not. So it is serving you, this expansion or this new line of sensitivity, but it may need an element of support. It can also mean that your own personal practice, where you go within to ask these questions or spend time with your intuition, is almost amplified in that space. So it's really interesting to utilize forms of divination or to ask questions to the universe, not expect the answer straight away. This is really interesting, this straight away thing that comes come up a couple of times today. So you might say, like, ask a question, like, what is the best environment for me to meditate in right now? And you might not have that answer come to you straight away, but then 2 days later, you're going for a drive and you see this amazing hut and it's surrounded by flowers and there's a bit of water around. It's really unusually quiet, and you notice that it's like a public opening place and you're like, wow, that's an amazing place to meditate. You're like, oh, doing, there's my answer. I know it's a very like basic kind of stringing together, but it does feel like the answers will come if we kind of give them time. It again means we need to be present in order to receive them, but don't expect them straight away. Cards, the pendulum, rune stones, external physical things that connect you and help to assist in your spiritual gift development are really beautiful things to be tapping into at the moment, or getting curious as to what forms of medicine can really support you. So herbs are really coming to life in the collective. The wisdom of plants and trees, the ancient knowledge that the rocks keep. It's like our connection to our external sources in this almost union with nature, this union with the divinity, that all and everything that we need is already here. And the way in which you channel that information or receive that guidance can be different depending on who you are, your personality type, what interests you, etc. Psychically, dreams are going to be really intense. It can be like training camp at the moment when it comes to dreaming. So being exposed to things inside of your dreams and responding or reacting or having an experience as you would in your physical life. So I'll use that as an example. I've been really afraid of sharks my whole life and I've done work around them. They were always in a place where, they've just been there, and it's always been an association to fear for me. I got in the water the other week without being afraid of sharks, which was a really interesting experience. But previously, if someone had said to me, come and go cage diving to get over your fear, I would have thought, no, that'd be way too traumatizing. But it might be that in the dream space, they arise and I can feel my natural response, how I would if I was to have a face-to-face reaction with a shark, if that makes sense. So this can be very intertwined with your inner relationships. If you've had self-doubt or trust issues with those around you, you might see this start coming into your dream space. So don't take it all so literal. I almost feel like bringing a bit of a mirror into that space and look at the characters in your dream space as you. So if it's you and someone else or you and something else, what do you see in that something else that is a reflection of your own inner world and your internal fears? But it can also be a really, really shamanic journey through the dream space at the moment. Set an intention for your specific healing before you go to bed. If there's something intentionally that you are working with conscious awareness and care, state that. I would like some healing around XYZ, please, whilst I sleep tonight. Dream work is super powerful, and there's such an opening there to really receive beautiful insight. If you don't remember your dream, set the intention to remember your dream. But I really do feel like it's starting to become more normal to have things like premonitions, to dream things before they happen, to have sight of something before it occurs, to have more deja vu right now, to be piecing bits of the puzzle together, almost like the alchemist on a mystical and esoteric journey that collects one little piece at a time, and it could be 4 months between each piece, but they fit perfectly in together, and all of a sudden we can see how the story starts to bridge. And so that inquires a little bit of trust, but it also means that we can participate here a little bit. All right, this one kind of bores me a little bit because I feel like we've repeated this. So I'm not going to judge the information that comes through. Stay here with me and I'll move through it quite quickly. But changes to the home can feel really inspiring right now, like a fresh new space. I say it feels boring because it doesn't feel like we're really in a materialistic space. So it doesn't feel very like, I want the big fancy home with this zeros. It's more of a feeling of like zhuzhing things over. So rearranging furniture, selling things you don't actually like anymore, replacing like quality pieces inside of the house, or regifting things, or saying yes to something that actually would be really complimentary in your home. It would be a really nice time to have like a garage sale, to visit garage sales if there was something specific you were looking for, as I think fast manifestation can happen here, or like Facebook Marketplace is something we utilize here in Australia. I'm sure we do worldwide. You can find some really beautiful things here, but do it not so much spontaneously, with like love, attention and care. Bring plants into your home, flowers, things that you really love, clearing out sort of spaces, repainting fabrics. I feel like there's texture involved in some of this. So if you've had shitty blinds for ages and you want to put a new one up, put a new one up. I feel like some of this has been hugely alive for me in the last few weeks even. As with the things like breaking, I think there's going to be a new energy kind of coming into that space, but it can really support the emotional body right now and kind of just help in the refresh of things and kind of help jazz up that routine with home as well. I feel, as in regards to this, not just on such a personal sense, there's going to be a lot of people moving. I found this really interesting, but it's like if you've been looking for like the perfect house and you want to buy it, now's a really beautiful time to do that, apparently, with the direct planets. That's information I heard from somewhere else. My guides are nodding. I feel like with the direction forward, to purchase and buy something right now is really beautiful. To sell something and get rid of, and to bring something else newer and fresher in is a really beautiful thing too. Not to buy to accumulate like property investment type stuff, more for like a very personal, a personal thing. So if you've been sitting on the fence and hiding and not really sure where you want to move to, or it's too scary, or it's too much of an investment, there can be an expansion here where the perfect thing kind of comes in. New housemates, new roommates. It kind of feels like a buying and a selling. There's like a switching over happening right now, to land in that place that you might have been putting some energy in for quite some time. I think there's a lot of good luck involved in some of this as well. Anything else I missed there, please? Okay. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm kind of going to bridge these last two little themes together. Where are you there? I've got to find the camera on this phone. It's interesting. There is going to be an unveiling, and part of this has already started to happen. The unveiling is in regards to being seen. It's an unveiling of truth. So some of that in the dream space, some of that in epiphanies. A lot of this to do with our personal connections. People are finding it harder and harder and harder to hide. And there is a very naked energy this month where no matter what environment, whether you're in a very intimate and personal relationship or this is just out in public, people's faces are going to tell it all. And I love this, yet I also understand that this can be really vulnerable. And it's like those dreams of waking up and being like nudie at school, you know, and you're like, oh shit, this is a lot. And you feel like eyes are on you and like you're being seen. And although this can feel challenging initially with that sense of vulnerability, please know that the more gentle you go in this space, the more you can take care of yourself and bring that compassion and love and hold yourself in your power in that space. To know that what you are and who you are on the inside is perfection, and all of your flaws and all of your perfections is exactly who everyone else around you wants to see and be a part of. People want the real you, and it's going to be stripped up in a way, including all of those things that have been kept in secret between intimate relationships, but also bigger like workplaces, and I want to say like companies, and also might be something like bigger platforms and things online. Truths being exposed where they don't need to be attacked or judged or criticized for. It's like, okay, what kind of support do you need? Okay, what kind of changes do we need to make? Okay, how can I assist you in this space? Or, okay, what is it that you need? Do you want? And I feel like with this sense of care in regards to this, there is a transparency that begins to bloom a truer experience with our interconnectedness with one another. And again, that energy of union. So seeing yourself in somebody else before you make judgment. If you make judgment, what is it that you're seeing in them that you are experiencing internally in yourself? So this is a very exposed energy. The way they're showing it to me is like a scorpion under the spotlight. And so it's not about attacking or stinging in this place. No one needs to, it doesn't feel like that kind of energy. It's like, oh, maybe the scorpion just feels unsafe in this environment right now. And do we need to relocate the scorpion? Do we need to give him space to cry, to talk, to be? What is it that it needs in this space? And it's not about coming in and clipping off the stinger, or you know, it's really about addressing all aspects of our being and going nice and gently in this place. And there is a comfortability that will arise in the creation of safety in your body by being who you are, by practicing being who you are. And so no need to dwell in the shame of this, no need to dwell in the embarrassment of any of this. Let yourself be seen always, but it feels strong this month in like the sense of awkwardness as well. Awkwardness is so beautiful. I love seeing people in awkwardness because I'm just like, oh my God, you're the cutest person in the whole entire world. Like I just want to squeeze the cheeks of awkward, because it's like nudging up into this space of like, you don't have your shit together. I don't have my shit together. And like, so what? We're all just here trying. We're doing the best that we possibly can. And this isn't from evil intent. Everything happens for a reason, as we know, but what is unveiled within us, or the actions that we take, or the bad deeds or the good deeds, all come from somewhere. And if it's an incapacity to be able to purge emotions or overcome soul challenges and tests, karmic stuff that we are moving through here, then people need more support and they need more love. And this is personal and it's also external. You will see this. So go about your communications with grace. Go about them with patience. Go about them without expectation. This also brings in that it's not also your responsibility to fix and heal everybody, but give people the space to be able to be who they are. Focus on your heart if you see someone in that space where all of a sudden they're like a deer in the headlights, you know, and witness. The art of witness is a really beautiful thing. And in observation of that, in just being in that space of light, you shine healing into that person's being and their reality. But I really do love this. The truth, it's very relational in our intimate relationships and etc. It's also in regards to addictional habits and behaviors. So things that if you're overeating behind closed doors, you might get caught out. I don't say caught out, but it's like you feel exposed in that because you might be carrying a bit of extra weight. That is asking, you know, for some patterns to shift behind. It can be secrets that you thought you buried in the grave that somehow come to light, someone else was informed and the discussion gets arisen and all of a sudden there's an element of exposure. And so gentle, nice time to speak the things that you feel like need to come out in your relationships, as well as not to sort of have that shock factor initially. And it's just a really, really beautiful place for great and deep intimacy and healing inside of our relationships and our relationship to each other as human beings. As I feel the more real that we can become, the deeper this journey is with one another, but the more love there is to go around. So a little bit more permission and a little bit more acceptance with where people are on their journeys, regardless if they're in a transformation journey or they're just choosing to stay stuck. Can you love them anyway? Being seen. It'd be a lovely time if you're in like sort of spiritual community to run events like eye gazing and those sorts of things, if you've got the proper what I want to call like hygiene practices of disconnection and stuff as well. Being seen to witness other dancing, moving, to witness other people speaking, sharing poetry, share your creative insights at this time and space without like expose your artwork, expose your fashion designs, expose your ideas. It's a lovely, lovely time to kind of chip away at things that could have sort of internally feel a little bit awkward or uncomfortable, to kind of go, oh wow, it's okay. It's okay to share this. It's okay to be seen. I'm feeling like I want to wrap this up. And this was the last little piece. It was a thread of the other that came in with the third element. So starting with the mind, working with the physical body, and then healing the spirit. It's a great time to move through huge pieces that we may have started journeying 10 years ago. I've had memories of myself in high school recently where my multidimensional self from this moment has been going back and holding her in her space of grief and overwhelm and the depression that she was experiencing, the confusion of this oversensitivity, and the feeling or the healing that I'm feeling internally in my own body, and the compassion from younger parts of me. This can be split parts of our soul that's off in other kind of alternative realities or relationships that died off. And so it's like a coming back into the self. But there is great opportunity this month to have healing in regards to our bigger elements of trauma. So whether that's like, they're even saying to me, like even things like sexual abuse, if that's something that you were a victim of, if violence, infidelity, like quite sort of, all trauma is trauma, but like quite significant pieces where it's like you've just been chipping away at the same thing over and over and over again and noticing small changes, but nothing hugely like grand. I really feel like there can actually be like a closure, and I'm seeing like two big sandstone, almost like players of the piece kind of being like checkmate, like a finishing, almost like that Harry Potter scene, you know, where there's the big like concrete statues and there's like a closure, like the king and the queen, like landing, stay, and it's like game over. I don't want to call that a game. I say this with absolute compassion. But I really do feel like that is hugely insightful right now and can feel like you've just finished a marathon. So please take time to hermit this month if that's what you feel like. It's okay still to like go into that stillness, that rest, that hermit vibe, shut the doors, come into your beautiful space, creating that lovely womb space. I like the darkness when I'm going through a process. So I shut my blinds and I put my nice pink light on. I might light a candle, make it all nourishing and delicious, not dark as in, you know, less than love. I don't even know how else to explain that. Being conscious in that dark space, that womby space, it actually feels really, really beautiful and nourishing, and holding yourself in there. They don't have to be huge days and days and days in a row, but little sort of intervals of that can really help that kind of like nice heart rhythm, the balance, I guess, and the harmony, not needing to like go full pelt. If you're in burnout right now, all systems are going to be spinning mentally, emotionally, physically, and energetically. People that got that warning for burnout in, I'm going to say as far back as November last year, if you haven't made the lifestyle changes or got the support in which you've needed to, I honestly feel like there's almost going to be like a bit of a cataclysm here. And it's sending you heaps of love. If that is the experience in which you're in, please ask for help and support. But, you know, sometimes we need to kind of hit that rock bottom before things start to, you know, move in a different direction. So sending you lots of love if that is something that you haven't been able to pull back from or create those changes because of external circumstances or because you're a mother with children and a job and things. It's like all the juggling. It's like the balls get dropped in that space. So if that is the case, what are we going to do here? Is there any guidance in reference to this, please? It's just like almost like surrender. And surrender doesn't mean not doing anything. Surrendering is like, whoa, this is the truth of my experience right now. I have to do something about this, or I need to ask for help to be able to do something about this and do it differently so as that I don't make myself sick in the process, or so as that I don't stress myself out to a breakdown stage. I hope that that's not you, and I think it's going to be a very small pocket of people. Which we are all susceptible to if we're not doing this kind of self-care and listening to our intuitive body. Burnout is something that, you know, creates and happens over time. It's got a lot to do with our expectations as well. And I think we're going to be popping false expectations of ourselves and our future vision and our lifestyle, our expectations of other people and ourselves with that change up of the routines and new ideas that are coming through right now, giving yourself plenty and plenty of time, knowing that you are not in a rushing race. More so you're being called to come back to the present moment. Slow is fast. And it's not a straight path. It goes all down, up and around and in and out. And that's kind of the beauty of it. And we are approaching truth, but we're also approaching the unknown this year. And they're two big themes that I'll talk your ears off about because the more awareness we have in those, the better. I'm going to wrap it up there as I'm just feeling like the energy is, I feel like there's lots more I could share with you, but there is space for that in intimate container if you like or resonate with the way in which I work. Unfortunately, the 20% off finishes today. So if you get this today, go to my website. You can type in the code into it 2023. But I have spots open for intuitive development before we start moving those into group spaces. I'm going to have lots of other little bits and pieces coming through. You can find me on Instagram, Your Heart's Path. Anything else? I would love you to share this with your friends and family. Please leave a comment. Let me know where you are. There's a handful of you watching this every month and I've got no idea who you are. It really does help the exposure for me and my channel. So you can click the little like button, as they like to say. But all of that really does help. Share to your Instagram, your stories, those sorts of things. I hugely appreciate all of that. I love you all regardless. If you can't be bothered, that's totally fine. But yeah, help me help you, I guess. I will always show up to do these things for you. I love it. My guides love it. It's a real honor to be here. As always, take care of yourselves and I will see you in March. Mwah! Lots of love.